If you in your car, win anyway. If you at home, win anyway. Let's go.
God is graduating my faith to trust. God is graduating my faith to trust. God is graduating my faith to trust.
Trust you, Lord.
I'll trust you
Trust
in the
you,
middle
Lord.
of this whole
Trust you, Lord.
way.
Trust you, Lord. Trust you, Lord. I 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 trust you, Lord.
I have no other choice. I have no other choice. I have no other choice but to trust you, God. I have no other choice. I have no other choice. I have no other choice but to trust you, God.
You fought too
I have
hard.
no other choice. I have no other
You
choice.
made it this
I have no
far.
other choice but to trust you, God.
You can't give
I
up
have no other choice.
now.
I have no other choice.
You can't give
I
up
have no other choice but
now.
to trust you, God.
Come on, come on. Listen, you can make it. You can do this. You are on the right side. I'll
I have
trust
no
you,
other
Lord.
choice.
I'll
I have
trust
no
you,
other
Lord.
choice.
I'll
I have
trust
no
you,
other
Lord.
choice but to
I'll trust you,
God.
Lord.
I have no other choice. I have no other choice. I have no other choice but to trust you, God.
Yeah. All right. Come on, Sandra. Yes. How are you? All right. We are here and it is Wednesday and I am blessed to be here. I have a great conversation partner with me tonight. Y'all just give it up for Dexter. Come on, y'all. Can y'all come in and just give it up for him?
It's good to see you, man.
You look the same as when I met you, and I met you, it has to be like 10 years ago. It has to be like,
Listen,
I don't even know, but I know where I met you. I met you in Florida at one of Darius Daniels' conferences.
yes.
I was to present at that conference. I wasn't even paying to be at that conference. And you presented and made me give up all my money because you were that impressive. Listen.
Oh my gosh.
At that time, Dex worked for Logos.
Yes.
He doesn't work there anymore, but his presentation was so phenomenal that I bought the program and didn't use it. Like,
Well, I don't know if I can be excited about that part.
but your presentation was spectacular.
Oh man,
And
you're too kind.
Yeah, I just thank you for our paths colliding and you supporting me from afar, and I'm just grateful that we are here to talk about the book. We're talking about life. We're talking about everything that hits your brain.
Man, I am so honored that you put me on the lineup because you got a lineup. Y'all, this is a bad boy right here, and I don't think anybody that's listening is confused about that. So I give you your flowers and just celebrate another win, another book. You don't stop. I don't know when you sleep or where you find the time, but this is an amazing piece. I've really enjoyed it. I was on my flight this morning and just kind of preparing for tonight. And I'm like, these are gems. I mean, this book is really packed. So I'm excited to talk about it tonight.
Great. Thank you so much. I was just asleep like an hour ago. So it's by God's grace that I'm here tonight because
that's all right.
Could have took me out.
He said it was the REM cycle sleep, that good.
Yes. But you know, the entrepreneur life is that of craziness, right? Because you have these high highs and these low lows. You know about that because you're an entrepreneur and you have to just go with the flow. Right. Even when social media says something else, you know the truth and you have to just keep pressing. And
Man.
that is what I'm doing on this book tour. That is what I'm doing in life, because we are adults now. Nobody is going to care. Like, that is the reality. You have to win anyway, because nobody's going to put you on their shoulders and cry with you. You just have to get up and just make a move. So that's what I'm doing every single day. I want God to really be pleased with my life. I want, you know, when you have 2 strokes and you're as young as we are, I don't get to say, oh, this is just a day that I could have off.
Wow.
Every day is intentional, even my off days, right? Even my rest days. Every day I want God to be pleased with what I give him, what I serve the world, and what I serve my family. So
that's right.
Yeah, man, it's good. It's a good day.
That's solid. You want to jump right in?
Let's go.
Let's get to it.
Let's go.
So I've been reading the book, and there's so many things that have stood out to me. First of all, you're unfairly insane with the formatting. Like the level of illustration, color photos.
Come on.
This is a beautiful, beautiful piece of art. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. Like the way he put this together, the affirmations, I'm through just with the concept alone, because you feel luxury, like you're being given a gift every time you turn a page. I mean, it's an experience to read the book. So first of all, you bad for that. But as we get into the content, you note that you wrote this to those that have contradictions, and people that may be similar to you had that trophy kid experience as well as a black sheep experience. Unpack that for us.
Yeah, so if you have ever been a middle child, if you have ever been someone in the light that contradicted who you were in the dark, I am an introvert. I mean, I am the farthest introvert that you can ever know.
Wow.
But my gift and my calling makes me perform at an extrovert level. So often people that really don't know me, they think that I'm sociable. They think that I'm excited all the time. They think that I gear up when I'm with people. I gear down when I am with people. I have to go and calm down to myself. And those are just 2 contradictions, but there are several contradictions that are in me, that are in somebody else that's watching. You know when you're different. You just know it, especially if you are blessed with siblings. So I have 7 years older than me, and I have sister that's 7 years younger than me, because there's 21 years between us all. And so when I look at them and I look at me, I'm like, there's something different about me. I'm just a little different. And so when you walk with that difference all your life, you can convince yourself that this is a liability, that this is something that you need to hide. But I've really taught myself how to win anyway, even with me being left-handed. Like,
Come on, left hands.
I'm just so different. I've learned how to use tools in different ways. And when you are left-handed in a right-handed world, when you are a middle child wanting to please everybody that you see, when you are a black man and you are a Pentecostal in a seminary that is white primarily, everywhere I went, I was the oddball out. And you could see that as a gift, or you could see that as a curse. And I'm choosing to see it as a gift.
That's beautiful. I think people need to hear that. And shout out to the left hands, because I've been a left hand all my life. My dad.
Yes, I knew there was something about you. I
Man,
knew it.
we in the top 14%. It's a big deal.
Listen, Barack Obama is a left-handed man. I mean,
I always say my president taught me how to write, but my granddad, my grandfather, my dad, and my uncle were all left-handed.
wow.
Yeah, but people need to hear affirmation in their difference, and I think sitting in the various seats that you just described, oftentimes we can feel pushed away because of difference, that we don't belong. But if you can see that not belonging as an affirmation and something to be celebrated, something of worth, something of note, and that even though it may not be evident right now, that there is still for it to be discovered, that edge of hope on difference is important, that we give that to people. There's so much gold in this book, but there were just a few chapters I have to ask you about. I want to start loaded and then kind of take our path back down. Chapter 7.
Okay.
Chapter 7. It's not a mistake, it's tuition. Okay. When I say, when y'all get this book, do not jump to chapter 7. But you are going to really, I think that people are going to find their story in your story. Because you were so transparent and so poignantly true, and just clear. I think even the way that you articulated struggles with employment, and people probably regretting now that they let you go. You talk very clearly about your marriage and that journey and evolution, the power of wins, and putting those in writing. Some of the lessons that you shared there, can you just help us to understand why you chose to write it the way you did?
Well, I'm a transparent man. I'm a transparent boy. I've just been transparent all my life.
Yeah.
That's the language that I am most familiar with. So I wrote out of my transparency, instead of my political correctness, instead of my intellect, instead of my poignancy. I just wrote out of my transparency, because that is the gift that I think the world needs, especially when you are in the church, or when you are a public figure, or you are in the educational world. There's a temptation to be so politically correct in everything, right? In your downs, in your ups. I look at some celebrities that went through a divorce, right? And how they maneuvered that divorce. They posted a picture, they said a word, and then they were off of social media. And we were like, so that's it? Like, we done? And they grieved in private, and then I guess she popped up and had another boyfriend. And that is the world that we live in. That's not me. I can't function that way. I have to bring you through my valleys when I'm healed enough to bring you through. And maybe they're being healed right now, but it's in me to help someone not make the mistake that I made. And so chapter 7 is my favorite chapter.
Wow.
And that title of that chapter, it actually comes from Dr. Phil. I was watching Dr. Phil. I'll never forget it. I was in my pastor's house, and I was in the living room going up to the bedroom, and I heard him say to a guest, if you learned from it, it's not a mistake, it's tuition. And I paused, and I was like, yo, this is God talking to me. And it never left me.
Wow.
And while, people reply to different things, I think that it really messed with me because I have so many degrees, because I have so many scholarships because I've had so many graduations. I've had Sally Mae turn into Navi and turn into whatever she is now. And we're going to plead the blood of Jesus that Biden or somebody gets loan forgiveness so that we can, go to our party. But when I look at my life, especially with a daughter, if all that I had to go through was tuition for her, then it was worth it.
That's so powerful. Yeah, the way you talk about your daughter in view of the story and the process, I thought, how beautiful that in some of the darkest times, God had given you such a bright light to really inspire and to give that why every day. Everyone doesn't necessarily have the gift of having children, but there's something in our lives that if we look close enough, we can find that edge of hope, that ray of hope to keep us going.
Yeah.
In chapter 8, step out of your comfort zone. You just hit us. You smacked us coming out the gate. I mean, you pulled no punches again. I think one of my favorite quotes that you highlight, there is nothing worse than to be tied to somebody who is giving you what you used to need, by Bishop Jakes. I thought that was just brilliant. And then the follow-up to that, don't make it a habit to choose what feels good over what's actually good for you. And there's more there too, that, a lot of solid things. But why did you start out like that?
Yeah, so I'm a teacher by nature. And so when I think in teacher code. I think in lesson plans. I think, what am I saying so that everyone can get something from it?
Yeah.
And so when I started that chapter, I started with my journey from kindergarten to middle school, to high school, to graduate school. And if my grad teacher was my kindergarten teacher, I wouldn't have learned what I needed to learn in that season. And if my middle school teacher was my kindergarten teacher, then I wouldn't have stepped out of kindergarten to graduate to whatever I was learning in that state. And so I don't know if this is a middle child problem. I don't know what problem it is. I know it's my problem. Let me say it that way. I tend to hold on to things that let me go. I tend to hold on to people. I tend to hold on to memories. I tend to hold on to jobs. I tend to hold on to past experiences. God has to kick me out for me to go into the next season, because I love to hold on to what hasn't held on to me. And when I went into that chapter, I processed it by saying, you can have a great experience with your kindergarten teacher, and still you have to graduate. It doesn't have to be, well, I don't want to talk to her anymore, so this is the hand and I'm going to let you go. It doesn't have to be that. You can appreciate what you left without discarding it, and you can move on right where you are. And particularly, like, if you are an educator, if you are a teacher, if you are a professor, if you are a secretary of a school board, if you see students this year that you will not see next year, you have to learn how to let people go. You have to learn how to hold on to them while they're there and let them go to their next when they leave you. If you do your job right, then you are always a revolving door.
Yeah.
You are always a revolving door. And so it makes me sad It makes me mad, but still, I have to let them go so that I can grow.
That's right.
It's not even for them, it's for me, so that I can get into this season with my eyes wide open and prepare for everything that God has for me in this season. So the
Good.
TD Jakes thing, it was painful to hear, but it was medicine for my soul, because often we are nostalgically connected to something that isn't feeding us now. Even if it's a church, even if it's a corporation, even if it's a person. And that's not to say that you are too good for whatever fed you in the past. But as you grow, there are just some things that don't grow with you. If I wanted to wear my high school shirt now that I'm in the gym, right? That would be a problem, because that high school shirt, no matter how much I love it, it doesn't fit my body anymore. You have to recognize, like, if I hold on to this and I walk out into the world, everybody's going to look at me like I'm stupid or I'm crazy, because they're looking at my shirt, they're looking at my body, and something doesn't match. Or you can say, thank you for holding me down when I was in that shape, when I was in that season, when I was in that season. But this is a new season, and I give you honor for that. And I love you for that. But I have to go on.
I'm changing.
Yeah.
You said something else. Stop apologizing for your growth. Stepping out of your comfort zone means looking directly into the face of your past to confront the hard stuff. Tell us how to do that. How do we look directly into the face of the past, confronting the hard stuff?
So there are many things in my past that were difficult for me to look into the face of. But one of them that was primary in my mind was the disintegration of my marriage. Me and Anna were Barack Obama and Michelle Obama of our communities. When I went to Todd Hall's conference, he called us the Beyonce and the Jay-Z of the kingdom. She is beautiful inside and outside. And I tried with all my might to make it work. And there was some pain there. There was some grief there. There was some heartache there. Thanks be unto God, we have a daughter. Thanks be unto God, we are co-parenting. Thanks be unto God, we are friends even right now. We live 2 minutes away from each other. And I just went to her house to get some chicken and rice Sunday because I was hungry. So God is good. And if you just keep reading the book, it gets better. But in the middle of that book, when I was in a new season, starting a new job in Chicago with a new pastor and a new mega church, and it was just great. And I was in a world of like blessings. It was in that moment when I moved to Chicago. The day I moved would have been our 10-year anniversary. And we were divorced then about 3 years. And so it was still new, but it was old enough that I could move on, right? But that anniversary date really shifted me. And at the time, Anna decided that she was going to post about our divorce. And I had to look in the mirror of the most painful thing that I had experienced at the time. and I had to respond. And I did respond. And I did it the way I know how to do it, through writing. You may not respond in that way. You may not do it like I did it, but you do have to look in the mirror at the hard stuff so that you can move on to the new season. And so now that I am over that season, I'm grateful that it happened. I'm grateful that even in my new season, I could go back to the old and say, yeah, this was great. I made some mistakes, but God is still faithful to give me another chance. I know that many people are done wrong. I know that life be lifing. But I think adulting is trying to find out what you did and only you. Because I can only respond to what I did. Anna can respond to what she did. The society can respond to what they did. But if you're going to win anyway, then you have to take your losses personally. You can't blame the system. You can't blame everybody else. Now, we are living in systemic racism. We are living in these worlds that are competing, right? And all of that is really good, right? Because you have to take that into consideration. But if I am committed to win anyway, then I have to get personal with my losses and my gains and my culpability and what I can do to be better now. And so,
powerful.
That's what I did.
What does winning look like now?
Winning looks like peace in my soul. It does not look like a purchase. It does not look like a house. It does not look like a degree. It does not look like a child. It does not look like status. It looks like peace in my soul. I was just in my living room a couple hours ago, and my mother hadn't gotten here yet. And I said to God, I said, I have peace in my soul. Like I could do this anywhere. If I was in a 1-bedroom apartment, I would be good. If I was in a 5-bedroom house, I'd be good. If my Escalade was taken away tomorrow, I'd be good. If I don't get into PhD programs in the future, I'd be good. And I want everybody to line up with what winning is for you. It's not material. It's not even spiritual. It's a peace in your soul that you have with God and you have with yourself. And that is why, instead of prayers, I wrote affirmations. Because in this book, I never had a problem praying to God, even when I was mad at him. But I did have a problem speaking well to myself. I did have a problem looking in the mirror and seeing the value that everybody else would see, but I didn't see it for me. And so with all that is going on, I have peace in my soul. I have peace in my soul, and that is winning to me. And no matter what tax bracket you're in, you can give something away to someone in need. That's a win. When you can take the raw materials of your life and recycle them to feed someone else in a lecture or a song or a lyric or whatever you do, that's a win. when I can call my grandmother, who is 80 years young, and just sit on the phone and hear her breathing. That's a win. You have to be okay with winning on your level right now. And that is what winning is to me.
That's so rich. I pity the soul that doesn't know the value and the richness of peace. When you've had enough valleys in your life, you begin to change and your values shift. I was listening to someone speak the other day, and they were giving a challenge on establishing values. And they said, tell me today what you would be doing if money was no object and you could just wake up and do your thing, and then describe why. And the young woman said, those are your values. Identifying your true north and your center as to why you're on this earth. Being in that space to pursue it on a daily basis. You know, maybe not at the highest level, but you're doing what you were born to do. Even in the realm of service, if that's just to perform at your highest level in a place of employment, whatever that looks like for you. You know, to have that level of assurance that I'm doing what I was sent here to accomplish, and I am well in my soul. I may not even have it all together. Everybody in my world might not even be treating me 100% right. But I have taken back the power and established the kind of a course that I'm going to take. That's worth all the tea in China and, you know, maybe a slab of ribs on the side. I mean, that is a big deal.
Let me ask you, I want to know what you would do if money wasn't an option and you could wake up tomorrow and do that. What would you be doing? I want to know that.
Oh my God. I would be doing everything I'm doing today. And I would be doing it at the highest level. I made a decision 4.5 years ago. I was working at that time in the highest paid job that I'd ever had, directing, and, you know, had a great staff, you know, had an assistant, just hired and trained an assistant director. You know, I was coasting in my success, but I looked around and I wasn't doing what I knew I was created to at the highest level, which is strategy and creation. And I was doing work with people that my values did not align. And I walked away from all of it. I made a decision. I put my house in storage and said, I'm going to take a year to rediscover. And I put what I needed in my car and I drove the perimeter of the country. And I set off. I was doing the best I had ever done. And a business partner of mine did a pretty shady deal and left me holding the bag for over 6 figures. And within that period of time, I thought I was going on a vacation for one reason, ended up needing to be a whole trip of rediscovery for another reason. But the purpose that God gave me in that trip, the clarity that was ascertained, I could never compare the value and the richness of those 6 months. It totally transformed my being. And that level of peace, I had never been taken advantage of and let down at that level. But I can remember the days, you know, getting outside in a city that wasn't my home and putting on workout gear, putting Nelson Mandela Long Walk to Freedom in my ears, and just settling back down into the core of who Dexter is. And man, I will never forget those days, because truth, nothing will locate truth like pain. Ooh. If I hit you hard enough, you'll tell the truth. And it took a hard hit. It took injustice. I never told, the person that, caused this technically, was one of my closest friends, one of the most notable voices in our culture today. And, it hurt not because of what happened, but because of who did it. Sometimes we don't give people the ability to unpack their trauma, to realize, what it is that has happened to you and how has it happened to you. Some betrayals are deeper than others because of who did it and how it happened and the ramifications of that. Because for me, it didn't just cost me that relationship. It cost me a world. For me to protect them, I had to give up the world. And so that season settled me in peace at a whole nother level. My value system I thought I had, I got another one. And I can, Shaun, I can say from the bottom of my soul, I love that person. I have no animosity. I don't have bitterness. I had some now. Let me tell you. I mean, I wrote the letter and sent it. Some people say I wrote a letter and put it in the drawer. I sent it. Certified.
I know that's right.
Where are my coins at? I had my season.
Yes, sir.
But by the grace of God, I believe with all my being, if you just don't quit and if you accept the tuition and pay the price, there's coming a season where the regret, it dissipates like clouds. It has to evaporate and go back from whence it's come. And when I look back at it, God was protecting me. Sometimes we don't realize how much trouble protects us from wasting time and being in places or environments or in company that they didn't have the capacity for you when it started. You were forcing it when it started. And so releasing seasons and allowing them to be what they are, seasons, and seasonal connections and seasonal relationships and seasonal opportunities. If you allow the season to pass, you'll come into your season. And what I had to realize was that wasn't my season. It was an opportunity that wasn't actually for me. And if I could be patient enough to wait, my season, it would come. And man, I answered too much question, but that's how I feel about it.
I just want to thank you for wrecking this interview.
You're so crazy. No, we're winning anyway. We are winning anyway.
We are in a therapy session right now.
Come on, therapy.
This is why I had you on the flight, because there's a gift. I don't know if it's because you pray. I don't know.
Oh my gosh!
Because you prophesy. I'm really, really serious. Like, your answer just located my entire season.
Wow.
Located my entire season.
Wow.
And I'm just blown away because, you and I have been friends for quite a long time. And although we don't talk every month, we know all of the same people. We deal with the same battles. We are the same person in our own, distinctions. But, faithful are the wounds of a friend.
Come on.
And I think brothers are born for adversity.
Talk.
When I am down and out, that's when God will reveal a brother that I didn't even know I had for this season, right? And when you try to be your own guide, you're not going to win.
Wow.
When you try, I mean, and I'm talking about talented people. I'm talking about gifted people. Everybody needs a shoulder to cry on when they are down.
That's right.
Everybody needs someone to listen when they are in panic. Someone in the chat say, how? I think that how was when you were talking about resentment. You know, how you're now not able to have resentment and how you're able to get past that pain. How can you respond to their question?
For Dex, my eternal perspective trumps everything. I really believe in the grace of God. I believe in the deep depravity of humanity and sin. And we all have fallen short of glory and our perfected place. I think there's two dynamics for me in forgiveness. It's macrocosm and microcosm. On the macro level, you know, absolute truth, forgiveness, everybody's worthy of it. We should extend it. That does not negate the fact that you've got several microcosms and situations you have to walk through. Yeah. And so I had to experience the pain, the disappointment. And I'm not talking about a day or a week. I'm talking months and years. Because when you have an assault at that level, you said something that I wrote down that I'm taking away from this. Don't blame. Take the losses personally. I'm taking that home. That's going in the wisdom inventory because I had to take responsibility. And what that situation did for me, it caused me to investigate my business because up until that point, I had never had anyone that I loved, you know, that shared life with at that level, take advantage of me. And when I look back at it, all I had were emails. I didn't have an agreement signed. You know, we had an agreement. I submitted the agreement. It never came back. And I took an assumption and said, you know, I know they're going to pay. I know it's going to be good. And it was months later I realized, okay, no, this is the bad deal. And so there were several dynamics happening there, but I had to take responsibility that you don't move forward with anything that is significant. If you can't afford to lose it, you don't move on it without a contract. And so that was for my back pocket. That was knowledge gained for the future. Now, I was angry. Say it again.
It was tuition.
It was tuition. It was Harvard. It was Princeton. It was Dartmouth. It was everybody.
I know that's right. I know that's right.
Man, but it was worth it, and I wouldn't trade it because I'm wiser. I'm better. You don't think about it when you're going through it, but you really do need trouble. You know, our days here are few and full of trouble, and there's a reason. God is ultimately looking for, even in our eternal place, for us to be sober vessels, people that have a bottom. You need a floor, and you need to have hit that floor in your soul at least once so that you know what it feels like. Because there's not a day that goes by. I know what it is to be homeless. I know what it is to look like money and don't have none. You know, I know what it is to sleep out of a car or checking in hotels wondering if, you know, you're going to actually be able to stay there that night. And so my vision is different, and I would never take that back, because when I minister, if I'm, you know, in a pulpit, or if I'm on a street corner, if I'm in a prison, if I'm in a boys' home, my vision is different, because I don't just see you. I see me. And we all need that experience. But don't get it twisted. I was angry. I walked through all of the emotions, and I had people that were patient enough to let me process, and even willing to tell me, all right, it's time now. You got to get over it.
Mm. Well, that comes back around to my book, because in this season, what I have been most saying to everybody that asks me for advice is, what is for you will wait for you to heal.
Wow.
What is for you will wait for you to heal. That is really, in my life, that is my mantra. The people that are for you, they will wait for you to heal. The contracts that are for you, they'll be around until you heal.
Come on.
The connections that are for you, they'll be there when you heal. And you don't have to rush. You don't have to hurry. You don't have to worry.
Okay.
Because God is in control. He controls every season of your life, including your rest and your recovery seasons. And when you are an ex-workaholic like me, when you are a go-getter like me, when you are the trophy kid like me, before I was 30 years old, I had 4 degrees. So I know what it's like to live in the fast lane. And I just didn't have degrees from any schools. I had degrees from the top schools in our nation. And then the 30s, it all came crumbling down. My divorce happened when I was in my 30s. My hip replacements happened when I was in my 30s. My strokes happened when I was in my 30s. So you can live life hanging on what you had in your 20s or what you have in your 30s, but quickly life will life, and you will see everything happens in seasons. So that's why you have to have the character enough to be grateful for the mountain and be grateful for the valley and be grateful for the in-between and be grateful for the bus stops and be grateful for the limousines.
Come on.
If you are connected with the right people, they'll be with you in the middle of all of it. They'll be with you in the middle of all of it. I am so grateful that I have a mother. I don't give her enough props, but she has been there through it all. She told me when she read the book, she said, it means so much to me because as I'm reading your words, I see the memories because she was there with me through this whole experience. And so I want to be there through my daughter's mountaintops and valley tops the way my mother was with me.
Wow.
I want to be there with my students the way my mother was there with me. I want to be there with my future son the way my mother was there with me, because you guys see me in the light. But this is not how I look every single day of the week.
Come on.
But you need someone that will be with you when you're ugly.
Yeah.
You need someone that will be with you when you're wrong.
Yeah.
You need someone that will be with you when you're confused. And if you don't have that person, you have God. And God always sends surrogates. God always sends surrogates. I don't care who you are. If you are a fatherless child, God will always send a surrogate. If you are a single mother, God will always send a surrogate. And the surrogate may not look like you imagined him to look. It may not be the way you thought it would be, but God will always send a surrogate. When I was in need of a mentor, when I was in need of a pastor. Now, you know what I do, and I consult for some of the largest churches in the nation. But when that pandemic happened, I needed a pastor. And that wasn't their fault. It was mine.
Wow.
Because I had adjusted. My t-shirt didn't fit anymore. And I needed someone to pastor me in that place the way I was and not who I had been.
Wow.
And would you know that some friend forwarded me a story from Dr. Berry. And I'm going to put her in the chat so that you guys can go to her website. But in the pandemic, she was doing a story every day in the morning. And those stories were only 5 minutes. And those stories pastored me through 2 years. And in that year, the first stroke happened. So as I was recovering from my stroke in the hospital, I was listening to her stories. And she would just sit up and just tell the stories. No lights, no glitz, no glamour, but it pastored me when I needed pastoring the most. And I'm telling you, why am I doing this? Why am I having these conversations? Why is this so important? Because I think that somebody on the other side of this screen needs the same thing that I needed back then. They need someone that gets them. They need someone that they can lean on. They need someone that they can go to. They need someone that can mentor them through the middle. And I am attached to every hallway seasons person because this is my lot. I don't know what I don't know, but I do know some things that can help people in their life right now. Yes. So Dr. Patrice Berry, she was my potentate. She was my pastor. I hadn't even met her. And I was commenting on her page every single day. And then by Christmas of that year, I was gifted with a surprise Zoom call on Christmas Eve with Dr. Berry. It was so crazy because I had viewed her every single day. It was like clockwork because I needed something and God sent the surrogate. And I'm telling you, Dexter, you are a surrogate right now to me. You are a surrogate for someone else. And I'm going to come back and say thank you. I'm going to be the leper that'll be like, yo, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Hey,
you know, I
thank you.
Oh, please. I thank you for reading my book. Like, I thank you for reading my book, but your experience has shifted my life tonight. I mean, it has shifted my life. I will never be the same. And we're going to have a conversation after this broadcast. So I can tell you how I really feel.
I got to read this quote from chapter 4.
Okay.
I feel like it kind of puts a cap on what we've talked about. If winning is God's reward, then losing is how he teaches us. If you tell the truth, you won't have to remember your lines. Both of those took me. But I think definitely the trauma of losing, we have to assess the damages. But there is great teaching that comes outside of reward. And I just thought that was such a beautiful presentation of knowledge. If winning is God's reward, then losing is how he teaches us. You selected some stuff in this book. Y'all need to go get this book tonight. Figure it out.
So I think some comments are asking where they can get the book from. Y'all can get it from my website, or if you are in an area where I am going to be on tour, then I can sign a copy for you. We're rolling it out slowly. I'm going to get the hardcovers next. I'm going to put out the Audible. I'm going to get the single. Y'all heard the single when you first came in. I'm going to do that. But I wanted to just get the book out there. And I wanted to do it a year after my last stroke, because I wanted to look the enemy in the face and say, what you meant for evil, God turned it around for my good. You know, people don't know how hard it was. They don't know how hard the recovery season was.
Wow.
The stroke was one thing. The depression was trying to kill me. And that's all I have to say about that, because we're going to talk after this stream is over. Because I'm going to hit you, because you have opened up something in me tonight. And I'm so grateful that you shifted your life to do this tonight. I think someone needed this right now. I don't think that they could have waited until tomorrow. I don't think they could have waited until next week. Someone needed this right now. And if you get the book, great. But if this was only for you to just feed off of this conversation, then that's great too. I want you to tell them about what you're doing. I want you to tell them about the books that you are writing. I want you to tell them about the dreams that you have, because this is not just for me. I want them to know about you.
Well, I would expect nothing less, because Shaun pushes people into purpose. So I should be prepared. But very simply, when I try to articulate what it is that I do, who I am, I do Jesus, I do business, and I do anything Black. Those are kind of my tenets. But Dexter Sullivan Enterprises houses everything that I do, from marketplace to ministry. I have a consulting company, Forerunner, where we help you do you well. And I serve various clients. He mentioned Logos Bible Software, how we met. I still facilitate them as a client and do a lot with church relations with them, sponsorships and things for conferences, and do some DEI facilitation, leadership development, coaching. Love that space. I also lead a couple of nonprofits, the Black Legacy Advancement Coalition, where we're a movement that builds Black power by providing education and resources to community. And that is my passion. That is my baby. That is my why. We launched a home for young men in the city of Detroit last year that are a part of our leadership development program that we're so proud of. And those are my sons, you know. I don't push the spiritual son stuff, but if I did, they would be them. I love those boys. And then Dexter Sullivan Ministries is, you know, people that know me from way back. You know, I used to preach, pray, prophesy was about all I did, traveling in ministry full time, and I still do that. I've just kind of broadened my scope, but we still focus on prayer, and I'm facilitating with some brothers in my life, a 5 a.m. prayer call right now, because that's what we did back in the day, and looking at bringing that back soon. So Shaun is always challenging me to get my books done. And so I am working on planning Your Life Now, which is a supporting tool for people that are trying to fine tune their purpose. And Why Pray. Those are two that are in the cooker for real, and I need to get those on out. So y'all pray for me.
Yes. Well, I am so full tonight.
Man.
You are a blessing in disguise. And I just want to tell you, thank you, and I love you.
Man, I love you back. I love you genuinely. I'm honored to be a part of your story, and we have not yet seen what God intends to reveal through your life. People that help in the background and who really help good, you don't hear much about what they do because people want to keep that a secret. But yeah, you haven't come into your due, and it's coming. It'll be right on time when it does, and the landscape and everything will be just right. But I'm honored to be a part at this phase of the journey, and I look forward to the elevation that's ahead. And I mean that in the least and the most churchy way possible.
Let me get this brother off this stream because I can't take it anymore.
So crazy.
I can't take it anymore. He gonna have me boohoo crying in front of y'all, and I put on too much makeup for this interview. I can't have my makeup. Y'all, I don't have makeup on. I don't have eyeliner on. They used to kill me in elementary school. Everybody used to call me and come up to me, do you have on eyeliner? I'm like, I'm in middle school. I'm in elementary school. Like, do you think I have time to put on eyeliner every single day? Anyway, God is good. God is good. I'm keeping from crying by laughing. And I am just so thankful for this conversation tonight. Dexter, I love you. I'm rooting for you, all that God has for you. But let me do this. Win anyway. Even if you have to stop on the side of the road to take a rest. Rest stops are on the journey too, because everybody has to rest sometimes. Even your car needs to refuel. Even your body needs to rest. And so I don't want you to be deceived if you're moving slower than you normally would. That's God trying to tell you, rest. I've got everything under control, and what is for you will wait for you to heal. I love y'all. I'll see you in Maryland if you're in Maryland tomorrow, and I'll see you back on here Monday night. All right? I love y'all. Please share this interview with all of your friends, with all of your family, and purchase a book. All right? See you next time.